The Russian occupation in Ukraine continues in its 10th month. Conflicts are growing increasingly. The Ukrainian army does not surrender to Russia by protecting its territorial integrity against the Russian occupation. The Russian military occupation of Ukrainian territory is being pushed back by the counter-operations carried out by the Ukrainian army. The latest developments show that Russia has suffered a huge loss. Many generals have resigned. Nearly 100,000 Russian soldiers have died. Russia could lose Crimea and the Black Sea at any moment. These developments have already backed Russia into a corner. Russia was planning to win this war in a very short time. Putin was aiming to win the war as soon as possible and then attack other countries. There were claims that Europe and Britain were among his new targets, but the Ukrainian army put up a historic resistance. As a result of this resistance, the advance of the Russian army was stopped. Later, counter-operations were organized and Russia was pushed back from the occupied territories. This counterattack caused great losses to the Russian army. The losses in the Russian army continue every day. Russia, which aimed to conclude this war with victory in a very short period of time, suffered a major defeat. Russia's military and political losses are increasing day by day. As a result of the unprecedented resistance of the Ukrainian army, the forward movement of the Russian army was stopped. Counterattacks were then prepared and Russian-held territories were liberated in successful operations. The Russian army managed to occupy only 4 regions of Ukraine, but this occupation did not last long. The situation in the Russian-held regions changed rapidly with the successful operations of the Ukrainian army. The territory occupied by Russian troops is getting smaller every day. The Russians are being pushed back one after another from the territories they occupied. The Ukrainian army has developed a successful strategy here. The first goal of the Ukrainian army was to regain control of the towns. Dozens of towns, especially in Donetsk and Kherson regions, have been liberated thanks to military operations. Russian troops were forced to withdraw from these regions. The retreating Russian troops suffered heavy losses. After taking small settlements, the Ukrainian army expanded the scope of its targets. It organized operations aimed at liberating a much larger area in a short period of time. As a result of the attacks on Russian bases, the Russian army suffered significant damage. Thus, Ukraine regained control over a large number of territories. As reported by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Russia is estimated to have lost around 96,000 troops in this conflict. This includes a large number of tanks, ships, and drones. The biggest loss for Russia was the retaking of Kherson by Ukraine. Russian troops suffered a devastating loss in the battle to retake the city of Kherson. Russia's decision to withdraw its forces from Kherson sparked intense debate across the country. In Russia, groups angry with Putin took to the streets and protested. Following the latest operations, the Ukrainian army managed to retake half of the territory captured by Russia. This victory in such a short time gave hope to the Ukrainian people. The morale of the Ukrainian state has risen, while the morale of the Russian army has declined day by day. Russia's political reputation in the world has suffered greatly. The rapid displacement of Russia's occupied territories has had a huge impact all over the world. The whole world talked about this backwardness in Putin's army. Despite all these events, Russia does not stop deceiving its people. In its public statements, the Russian government says that Russia has gained more territory in Ukraine. However, everyone knows that the claims of the Russian government are not true. The Ukrainian flag is now flying over the territories that Russia claims to have captured. And the Ukrainian army continues its major operations. The territory captured by Russia in Ukraine has been freed by half, but Ukraine is not satisfied with that. The Ukrainian army is now aiming for a decisive victory. This war will not end until all the territories currently occupied by Russia are liberated. Their goal is to completely push the Russian army back from these territories. War experts believe that the Ukrainian army is preparing to launch a new offensive very soon. Having made significant progress in the southern regions, the Ukrainian army intends to continue its advance from this region and launch a new operation in the Zaporizhia region. It is rumored that many operations will resume with the passing of winter. Intense winter conditions have reduced the operations to some extent. It is of great importance to take the Zaporizhia region after the city of Kherson. The Ukrainian army is determined to win this war after the winter is over. Knowing that winter in Ukraine is really tough, the Ukrainian army is aware that the conflict will end in the colder months of the year. Snowfall in many regions has caused transportation disruptions. In the colder months, the Ukrainian army will probably not be able to use its tanks and armored vehicles. Therefore, the Ukrainian army is expected to launch a major operation against Russia in the summer months. The Russian army, on the other hand, saw the winter months as an opportunity to advance the invasion. Since Russia does not have a trained military population, a total of 300,000 people were recruited with the mobilization announced by Putin. However, their combat training is inadequate and they make an unacceptable number of mistakes on the front line. The Russian army is short of soldiers. Nearly 100,000 Russian soldiers have already died. Because of the cold winter months, many ground and air operations cannot be carried out. For this reason, Russia is allegedly saving all its forces for the summer months. The Russian army plans to train soldiers by organizing camps during the winter months. Thus, when the winter season ends, Russia will have a stronger and better trained army. The Ukrainian army, on the other hand, wants to win the war as soon as possible. That's why the fighting is getting fiercer and fiercer. The Ukrainian army continues to organize many important operations in winter. The success of the Ukrainian army is the talk of the world. The liberation of half of the territories controlled by Russia has become a topic of discussion all over the world. Everyone enjoys hearing about the achievements of the Ukrainian people. There is no doubt that NATO's assistance to Ukraine is making the Ukrainian army much stronger. The US, Turkey, Italy, France, Germany, and the UK, and many other NATO countries have provided a lot of assistance to Ukraine. The biggest examples are the HIMARS sent by the US and the Bayraktar drones sent by Turkey. These instruments of war have given Ukraine great strength against Russia. Today, the Ukrainian armed forces have the most modern weapons available anywhere in the world. The most advanced weapons available to NATO members have been sent to Ukraine. Because of these weapons, Russia's plans are failing. NATO's military power is too much for Russia's defenses to handle. It was known that Russia posed the biggest threat to NATO's military. But in this conflict, it became clear very early on that the Russian army is completely powerless against NATO. As a result of the war between Ukraine and Russia, it became clear that Russia will no longer pose a major threat, and this is an important development for the whole world. Many war experts around the world claim that there is no military power left in the world that can fight against NATO. This claim is proving to be true day by day. Russia's defeat on the NATO-backed Ukrainian army on Ukrainian territory is a proof of this. Once NATO's invincibility is assured, the world will be ruled by a unipolar power. Autocratic rulers of Eastern countries like Putin will no longer be able to resist NATO's power. Experts predict that by the end of this process, democratic states around the world will have gained more authority and authoritarian regimes will lose their power one by one. Ukraine's victory signals a shift in the global balance. Ukraine's recapture of half of its Russian-occupied territories has prompted further analysis. Ukraine's success is praised by those who have studied political science. What do you think about Ukraine's success in this war? Do you believe that the Ukrainian army can prevent the entire Russian occupation? What impact will Ukraine's victory over Russia have on relations between the countries? What do you think? Share it with us. Follow us for more updates.